When we take complicated yards that have a lot of grade, I'll tend to build a model, a clay model, three-dimensional model. It helps me, number one, play with the grades and elevations, and I know that can all be done on computer, but for me it's hands-on, tactile, get the sense of elevation and what it's going to be and try to make it as good to scale as possible. Plus then that's a great tool for me to bring to the homeowner and say, here's what I'm talking about, here's the idea. Well, we had a waterfall right there, basically the exact footprint that it turned out to be, but very nondescript, just a waterfall and slide. And as we started the project, the more steampunk genre came to be, and that feel of steampunk and a little bit of Caribbean. And out of that, a solid pad of concrete that's about 4 feet underneath the pool underneath there, and all kinds of steel sticking up. We just started formulating. We knew where the slide was exactly. That was no problem. We knew where the steps were going to be, but the rest of it sort of shaped itself as we went. And then that's when I just got creative and started thinking about, from a steampunk perspective, what it would look like. We can carve all kinds of stuff out of concrete, but what about using some copper and some metals and some different ways of bringing the water forth? Because again, in a waterfall, how do you create the way that the water spills out so that it's unique and interesting and or nondescript whatsoever? Well, we made focused efforts to tell you exactly where the water's coming from. So the water comes out of the bell helmet, and that was a reproduction bell helmet, shiny copper when I got it. We patinaed it to give it that old look, and water comes out of the front of that, and then water comes out of the tuba on the other side. So we have very distinct places. Instead of hiding the water entry points, we accented them and made them obvious, because that again creates visual interest. If it was just a pipe sticking out and water shooting out of it, probably not very interesting. But because we have shapes that the water's coming out of, it becomes really interesting. So the whole process was organic in nature. It was just one of those things that as we built, I kept finding parts, and then I would build a little more and I'd find more parts, and I stop at all kinds of crazy places, little hardware stores and plumbing shops and anything to be able to find miscellaneous interesting copper pieces, and that's the net result.